I think we had the car going relatively a little bit better. We really struggled yesterday. We had a few mechanical problems in the practice, and I had to jump from one car to the other and get in the spare. We're running the spare today.
Well, this morning everything went quite smoothly, so we're just waiting for the start, and it's going to be a very uncertain afternoon because of the weather. So again, just another one of those things we just can't really begin to predict anything.
There's no more practice, so the guy who is doing the best job, being lucky, he might have the best chances, but you know, you never know.
Well, it was going very well yesterday, but then we had to change the gearbox, and including that is a new back end on the car, and unfortunately this morning it wasn't going so well. So we're trying to cure the problems if we can find them.
It looks as if we may get a few changes in the weather, which will liven the race up a bit, if nothing else.
And how right James is, because drama before the race has even begun. Niki Lauda, stranded off the circuit, off Chapel Curve, finds himself in danger of driving an Alfa Romeo-powered Brabham tractor. And it's not only Lauda that's in trouble. This photographer has been sinking steadily in the mud for 5 minutes and looks as though she needs Lauda to pull her out. And with the practice warm-up still on, look at this for drama. Not only is Lauda stranded, but Ronnie Peterson's Lotus number 6 in the background won't be starting into the catch fence. And Ronnie Peterson is now slowly trudging his way back to the pits, hopefully to get the other spare JPS warmed up for the start of the race. This is the warm-up lap. Ronnie Peterson did not succeed in getting his car ready, and another drama is that Niki Lauda has not started. He came out earlier on, his throttle stuck on the second replacement Brabham, and he's out of the race. So the second rank has become the front rank, and that is the second rank, and now the front rank. Mario Andretti driving for the first time in the new JPS Mark IV. The previous British Grand Prix winner here at Silverstone, James Hunt, alongside him in the M26 McLaren. Then Depailler and Lunga in their Elf Tyrrell and McLarens respectively, and that's the weather. You can see it. Somebody has spun off at Abbey. The weather conditions are absolutely indescribable. Not only is the track awash, and that's happened in the saloon car race earlier on. Cars were spinning off in the saloon car race, and it wouldn't surprise me one little bit if they were held on the line. But in the pit road, Peterson's trying to get away. Alan de Cadenet's down there. But no, it looks as though they're not letting him out, and meantime they're coming up to the start line. This has been a tremendously dramatic race before it even started. The rain is belting down, there's a dreadful wind blowing, engines are misfiring. You saw a car spin off at Abbey, but yet the cars are being lined up in grid order, and behind them the Jaguar fire tender ready to start off on the first lap. But no, they are down on the start line, looking towards the red and green lights. First of all, 2 red lights come on, and then the reds are on. In a few seconds, the International Trophy will be starting, and the green goes now. And it's Depailler trying to punch his way through. But as they come up to the first right-hander at Copse, it's James Hunt, and going through from the inside. There is James Hunt, throwing up a great ball of spray behind him. And from Copse, it's on to Maggots. And it was Brett Lunga coming through. Brett Lunga in the Chesterfield McLaren is challenging James Hunt. And Peterson has joined the race. And Brett Lunga, it's Derek Daly. Derek Daly, this is quite incredible. The Formula 3 driver, Derek Daly, in his first Formula 1 race ever, driving the Hesketh with the Cosworth V8 engine, has taken the lead in his first Formula 1 race. And he's driving with an absolutely clear track in front of him as he goes down Hanger Straight for the first time in this 40-lap race. A quite incredible achievement by this brilliant driver who won the BP Formula 3 Championship last year. Hunt is second, and Mario Andretti is in third place. But coming towards us, it is the Olympus Hesketh of Derek Daly with that distinctive yellow arrow showing on his helmet. The Irish driver with an enormous amount of grit and determination. And look at the distance that he's pulled out between himself and the brilliant James Hunt, who knows Silverstone right. And he's off! Daly off on the first lap. Derek Daly goes off, and a lot of cars have been doing that at Abbey. And Hunt is off too, is it? Well, we'll soon see. There's obviously a lot of water. There's a third car off, and Abbey is obviously dangerous. Peter Gethin is with me, and he was forecasting this. Peter, what do you think?
Well, I think, as you can see from what we saw in the previous running, it's bad conditions, and it's absolutely terrible up at Abbey. It's obviously the cars are aquaplaning, and that's why you saw 3 or 4 go off. There's nothing you can do. It's under no control except for God.
And Peterson into the pits. Ronnie Peterson, who came out late after all the others had started, and is in the spare car because, as you saw, his lead car went into the catch fencing here at Woodcote on the practice session. And straight into the garage goes Ronnie Peterson. That means there is only one JPS left, and it's that one. That is Mario Andretti leading. Andretti off, and a real straight into whichever car it is there. And that shows you how terrible the conditions at Abbey Curve are. That's Hunt off. That's the McLaren of Hunt. So 3 cars off at Abbey, and that means a new leader. Derek Daly off, and it was Daly's Hesketh, I think, that Mario Andretti hit. So there is the McLaren, and here is the new leader, and it's Stuck. It's Hans Stuck, son of a brilliantly successful father. His father, the original, and there you can see Hans Stuck nearly losing it. His father, Hans Stuck, was the man who drove for Auto Union, and in second position now, believe it or not, it is Keke Rosberg, also driving in his first Grand Prix. There's the leader, number 16, Hans Stuck. There is Davina Galitza, the lady driver, the ex-skier, who was first reserve and who started because René Arnoux went out of the race. There is Hans Stuck. There is Hans Stuck leading the race. Now, can he keep it going? Don Nichols, who is the shadow chief, and there is, well, that's odd. That's Derek Daly's car. How do we account for that? Because for sure, that car has got 2 numbers on it, and we'll have to have a good look at the driver and concentrate on the helmet. Then we'll know if it's got that broad yellow arrow on the front of car number 38 there. That is Derek Daly, no doubt about it. So, it must have been Davina Galitza that went off in the Hesketh and the opening lap. So, there's Derek Daly is in second place. Derek Daly, who led, is in second place, but only just behind Hans Stuck. Already an incredible race, because James Hunt is out of it, Mario Andretti is out of it. Leading the race, we have Hans Stuck in a car which is being driven for the first time, and that's the Shadow DN9. In second position then, it is Derek Daly driving in his first Formula One race. In third position, it's Keke Rosberg in the Theodore. That's the car that's sponsored by Teddy Yip, the Hong Kong businessman, and there goes the leader. And Hans Stuck now is leading Derek Daly, with Keke Rosberg closing right up on Daly, and Hans Stuck is leading by 6 seconds. There is Stuck now, the battle for second place coming towards us, and there is Derek Daly, the newcomer to Formula One, in second place. Behind him, in the red and white Theodore, number 32, Keke Rosberg, the Finnish driver, also in his first season of Formula One. Now, imagine that. Peter Gethin, what is it like following in the slipstream of a Formula One car in weather like this?
I think you can only describe it as being, you just follow the spray in front, and you just hope that the man in front doesn't make a mistake, because if he goes off, normally you'll go off. So you try and you assess who it is in front. If you think they're pretty good, you follow them fairly closely, and if you don't, you give them a bit of space. But it's really terrible conditions, and I think I even noticed on the first or second lap that Andretti went past the start and finish line. It looked to me like he was waving to the where the start and finish flag would be to try and tell them, if not to stop it, then to do something about it.
Well, they didn't stop it, and it's turning out to be an incredible race. Let's give you the first 5 positions, and here's the battle for second. 38, Derek Daly in the Olympus Hesketh in second place in his first Formula One race. Behind him in third place, Keke Rosberg in the Theodore. Leading the race still, of course, it is Hans Stuck in the Shadow DN9, its first race. In fourth position, it is Patrick Depailler, the man who so very nearly won the South African Grand Prix, and in fifth place, Emerson Fittipaldi. And with Hans Stuck completing the lap with 10 cars only left in the race, let's go over to the pits and to Alan de Cadenet.
Niki Lauda failed to start because his throttles wouldn't work properly, and Ronnie Peterson came in and said his car was just undrivable. Having put it back together in half an hour, they just didn't get it quite right.
And Patrick Depailler, the man who was in fourth position, is in the catch fencing. That is a testimony to the effectiveness of the catch fencing, because you can see that the Elf Tyrrell, that's the 008 car, has not even reached the Armco barrier and the sleepers behind. The catch fencing has stopped it, and Depailler is all right, but out of the race, and that's his second unhappy experience in his last 2 Formula One races. So there is a new fourth place man, and that is Emerson Fittipaldi. There is a new fifth place man, and it is Tony Trimmer, last year's Shell Sport International winner. And now coming up to the chicane, and this is the end of lap 6, is Tony Trimmer going through. A quite amazing race, this International Trophy, of surprises before it even began. And still with Brett Lunger going through, it is Hans Stuck in the lead. And there's a long, long way to go. And if the attrition goes on like this, there's going to be hardly anybody left at the end of the race. The sky is brightening a little, but this track is very, very, very wet. And even though it has this new quick draining surface, it's going to take a long time to drain. Hans Stuck is on his way to Copse Corner, and there is very little in it between Stuck and Daly. There is Daly, and Hans Stuck goes round, and Daly is starting to challenge Hans Stuck for the lead. That is Davina Galitza, incidentally. So both Heskeths are still in the race, and Davina Galitza in her first Formula One race of Grand Prix standard, although this is not, of course, a Grand Prix race. There is Hans Stuck lapping Davina Galitza. She nevertheless has a chance of finishing well up on the leaderboard if this race goes on as it has been going, because not many people are going to finish it. Laps 3 to 8, it was Hans Stuck driving beautifully, the tall, lanky German in the new Shadow DN9, who led for those 5 laps in spite of the fact that a misfire in his engine was progressively slowing him up. And behind him, a titanic battle for second place between 2 new Formula One drivers, Derek Daly from Ireland in the Olympus Hesketh and Keke Rosberg. But then, on the 13th lap, Derek Daly was leading, and as he came up towards the end of the lap in the Olympus Hesketh and approaching Woodcote, he lost the car altogether. And there is Daly in the catch fencing. A bitter, bitter moment for this Irish driver, because he had led this race and he looked as though he only had to keep going to come home first in his first Formula One race, having driven in his first Formula 2 race at Portugal only last year. But there we are, and that incidentally is an indication of the fact that catch fencing really works. And in the background you see the car of Patrick Depailler, the Elf Tyrrell, that was in 4th position. And there's Davina Galitza. Davina Galitza in the 2nd Olympus Hesketh, the lady driver who got in by qualifying only in 17th position. 16 drivers started or were to start. René Arnoux did not start, so Davina Galitza took his place. So that was the position, and it is Keke Rosberg leading. But with Keke Rosberg in the lead on lap 20, over to Alain de Cadenet in the pits.
Greetings from the pits. We've had one major retirement here. Hans Stuck, in his shadow, went out with engine failure due to plugs, I think, getting wet. All the other incidents out on the track, including James Hunt, who is with me now. James, tell us about that.
Well, unfortunately the track was flooded at the Abbey Curve when the race started. We just had a big downpour, and of course, you know, this new surface, you can't see it. The whole surface is shiny and nobody can see the puddle. And I think on the first lap, hardly a car got through there without spinning. It went all over the place. For myself, along with Regazzoni, we both spun off, and most people got going, but we couldn't restart our engines, so we were stuck there. And then I think Andretti went off a couple of laps later and walloped one of our cars. I hope it wasn't mine, because it's my race car for Long Beach.
Is this worse than Japan, do you think, in 76?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, the conditions are much more dangerous here because the visibility is bad. The track is more flooded. It's much more aquaplaning. When it's bad, I mean, at the moment it's not raining and the track's a bit drier, but as soon as you get any sort of a drizzle, it just floods.
Thank you very much indeed.
So the race has now run exactly half its distance, 20 laps. It started 1.5 hours late, and it started 1.5 hours late because in the preceding saloon car race and so on, cars were spinning off into the catch fencing, and because this catch fencing is so effective, it naturally has to be rebuilt after it has been knocked down. So there was a long delay. Then the Formula One cars had to come out and warm up. Incidentally, Ronnie Peterson got back to the pits and they rebuilt very quickly one complete car out of his spare car and the race car that had crashed into the catch fencing, and which they pulled back, but not quite quickly enough, and the race had started before Ronnie Peterson got away. So 20 laps, here are the positions, and in the lead, Keke Rosberg from Heidelberg, Germany, where he lives, although he's Finnish himself. In 2nd place, the great Emerson Fittipaldi, twice world champion, who is making something of a comeback this year in his Coppa car, a new one, after disastrous 1976 and 77 seasons. And in 3rd place, Tony Trimmer. Rosberg then, and there in 2nd place behind him is Emerson Fittipaldi. Now, Emerson is the only other driver on the same lap, and Fittipaldi is gaining on Rosberg. Fittipaldi, with his superior experience and racecraft, is starting to gain on the comparative newcomer, Keke Rosberg, and we'll take some times around the lap and see whether the fact that Fittipaldi has gained is something that he's going to be able to maintain. Peter Gethin is shaking his head at me, so it looks a bit doubtful that Fittipaldi will gain any more. Meantime, I'll tell you that there are 5 cars left in the race, and that is Rupert Keegan, number 18 in the Surtees car. And incidentally, he did what Jody Scheckter did some years ago earlier in this race. He spun it down the main straight from Woodcote to Copse, collected it just before he hit the pits wall and went on his way. Now, the cars that are left in the race, only 2 on the same lap. In the lead, Keke Rosberg. In 2nd place, and there he is Emerson Fittipaldi. Then a full lap behind them, it is Tony Trimmer in 3rd position. In 4th place, it's Rupert Keegan, and in 5th position, it's Brett Lunger. Brett Lunger, who I maligned earlier on by saying he had gone off the circuit. He clearly hadn't. He did an absolutely scintillating lap in practice yesterday and finished 5th fastest at the end of practice in his McLaren M23. And he's taking delivery of a new M26, and you're looking now as they come down, and a very hairy bit of overtaking by Rosberg. who is not relaxing his concentration one iota, and what a sensible chap he is as he goes into the chicane at Woodcote to finish his 23rd lap. Now the gap between Rosberg, approaching us at Copse now, and Fittipaldi there is exactly 10 seconds, and that's about the same as it was on the previous lap. So Fittipaldi with Keegan a full lap behind him. There is the Brazilian, and he's hit the nose of the car badly, as you can see. Will that affect the handling of the car, Peter Gethin?
I think if he's just affected the nose, it won't make any difference in these conditions. But if he's touched one of the front wings, one of those parts sticking out on the front, it certainly will, because if he's damaged one, it'll make it understeer or make the front push out. But it looks okay to me, and I think it won't affect anything at all.
16 cars started this race, 5 are left. Out of it, Niki Lauda, who didn't even start because his throttle stuck on the warming up line, and he had the choice of having no engine or the whole lot, so he opted not to start, and very sensibly. Patrick Depailler out of the race and into the catch netting. Mario Andretti out of the race, spun off at Abbey. Ronnie Peterson out of the race. James Hunt out at Abbey. Hans Stuck out of the race with that engine misfire. And Derek Daly into the catch fencing at Woodcote. But it looks as though the rain has actually stopped now. It's very difficult, as James Hunt said, looking at this new surface, to tell whether it is raining or not. But there is certainly, even if it isn't raining, an enormous amount of excess water lying on the surface, even though it may be draining away. It's been diabolical conditions for the some 35,000 people who are here watching the race today. So there's Rosberg just clearing the chicane, and the gap between Rosberg and Fittipaldi looks as though it's extending. Rosberg has now lapped Tony Trimmer again, so Trimmer is at least 2 laps down, and no, the gap is exactly the same. It's 10 seconds, perhaps a whisker less, as Rosberg and Fittipaldi go into and out of Copse Corner with another 15 laps still to go at the end of this lap. Keke Rosberg, he is 29 years old, and his car, which was basically designed by Ron Toranak with a lot of help from Len Bailey, has been masterminded by... The race has been shortened. It is now only 30 laps, and we are on lap 25. So Keke Rosberg won't know this, of course. He may conceivably get a pit signal. How easy are they to see, and would you expect this sort of information to be given to him, Peter Gethin?
First of all, they're difficult to see, but I think he'll have been waiting for the race to be stopped very soon after the start. So I think it'll be any sign that his pits will give him, and I'm sure they'll make it very, very clear to him that there is 5 laps only to go and not 15. He will see and be very, very happy to see it. He's got 10 seconds still on Emerson, and I think he can afford to lose 2 seconds a lap just about and still win. So if he stays on the road, I think good luck to him. I think he's going to win.
Well, just about 7.5 laps to go, and that is the danger point on this course, Abbey Curve, that left-hander there, where I remember Ken Richardson going off in a Ferrari years and years ago. It's always been a very, very difficult corner. And now Rosberg coming through to complete his 25th lap. So he's got 5 laps to go, and Emerson Fittipaldi is coming out of the chicane. There he is. There's number 14, Fittipaldi, who is gaining. It's 9 seconds now. And here is the great Brazilian, world champion in 1972 and 74. 72 for Lotus, 74 for McLaren. He's won 14 Grand Prix. He's been in the wilderness for the last 2 years, but now it looks as though he has really got the Copa-Sucar act together. Copa-Sucar, the enormous Brazilian sugar concern that sponsor him, and his brother, Wilson Fittipaldi, is the man who has had an enormous amount to do with the design and development of this car. And Emerson has patiently plodded away, redesigning bits of the car with various designers, and he's had a large number of them. And now he's got Ralph Bellamy, the ex-Lotus designer, out in Brazil building a new car to replace this Copa-Sucar. This man you are looking at, is one of the very, very greatest drivers in the history of motor racing. But he is being led by Keke Rosberg at the moment. There is Fittipaldi, and the seconds are ticking away on Keke Rosberg. It is now 1 minute and 25 seconds since he started this lap, and he will be coming into sight and underneath the bridge as Emerson Fittipaldi goes round Abbey. Here is Rosberg approaching Woodcote Corner to complete this lap, and it's going to be a time, I would guess, of about 1 minute and 50 seconds, something like that. Yes, it is. Over the line goes Keke Rosberg, 1 minute 48 seconds. So Rosberg is lapping at some 97, 98 miles an hour, compared with the fastest lap that we had of some 138 miles an hour in practicing. And they have completed lap 26. There are therefore just 5 laps to go before the end of the race. In fact, no, 3 laps to go. They're on lap 27 now, and the gap is shortening between Emerson Fittipaldi and Keke Rosberg. It is 8 3/5 seconds in what is proving, after all, to be a riveting finish to this shortened international trophy, which celebrates the British Racing Drivers' Club's 30 years of history at Silverstone. Its first race was held in 1948, and although this race has been cold and miserable for the drivers, it couldn't have been more exciting for the spectators, notwithstanding the fact that there are only 5 cars left in the race. 6 now, because Hans Stuck is back in the running in the new Shadow DN9, doubtless getting in some development mileage. Keke Rosberg, and there is Fittipaldi in the background. There is Fittipaldi closing on Keke Rosberg on lap 28. On lap 27, so there are still 3 laps to go at the end of this one. It was 10 seconds between them. Then it was 9 2/5 seconds. Then it was 9 seconds, and they're coming up now to complete lap 27. And then there will just be laps 28, 9 and 30 to go before the end of this shortened race. Rosberg coming into the chicane as Fittipaldi is much less than 10 seconds now. And Rosberg exits, and he's going visibly slower as Fittipaldi comes into and out of the chicane, and the gap between the first and second place men is 6 2/5 seconds. The race is really on in the closing stages, and I remind you that Tony Trimmer is still in 3rd position. In 4th place, it is still Rupert Keegan in the Surtees, and in 5th position, it is still Brett Lunger in the McLaren. There is the leader, and he's rounding Chapel on his way to Hanger Straight. He's rounding Maggots on his way to Beckett's, my apologies, and then on to Chapel and down to Hanger. And then you will be able to see as they approach Stowe Corner, which Rosberg is approaching now, and there is Fittipaldi, whether the gap is shortening. It was 6 2/5 seconds. They are going to start their 29th lap at the end of this one. There's Rosberg, the 32-year-old Finnish driver, against the brilliant 32-year-old Emerson Fittipaldi, and look at it! Fittipaldi has got Rosberg well and truly in his sights. And you can see the new aerodynamic body of the Coppiceau car, which was changed after practice yesterday. Not a lot, but enough at the back. Peter McIntosh was saying that they'd changed the wing configuration, and it's obviously just right for this circuit. And Emerson Fittipaldi means to get his revenge for the last 2 years at Silverstone, where he won the British Grand Prix so brilliantly a few years ago. And look at this. This is less than 6 seconds, and this is the end of lap 28. And the gap as Rosberg starts and then Fittipaldi is now down to 3 seconds only. 3 seconds gap, 2 laps to go. Rosberg leads, Fittipaldi second, and they are lapping at some 98 miles an hour under atrocious conditions. This is the left-hander at Maggots. On to Beckett's. Beckett's to Chapel. Chapel to Hanger. 14 is the Coppiceau car of Fittipaldi, and his car, like Keke Rosberg's, has got a V8 450 horsepower plus Cosworth engine in it. The engine which was sponsored so determinedly by Ford some years ago and has won over 110 Grand Prix. And they're on their way down Hanger Straight now, on their way to Stowe. And now Rosberg will see Fittipaldi in his mirrors. And this is going to be the test. Is Rosberg, who is comparatively inexperienced, going to get rattled by seeing Fittipaldi closing up on him? And you don't need a stopwatch now, or not for very much longer, because Fittipaldi is going into the last lap very shortly on the wheel tracks of Keke Rosberg in the Theodore. And Teddy Yip, the Hong Kong businessman who sponsors Rosberg, is there in the pits. He's come all the way from Hong Kong to see this race, and he's seeing an absolute stormer under the bridge down to Woodcote. The last lap is about to start. And the gap as they start the last lap is 1 3/5 seconds. Lap 30, the last lap. 10 laps have been chopped out of this. Rosberg leads going into Copse. The drama continues because a decision has been made now that the race is, after all, going to be run full distance. So Fittipaldi won't know that. Indeed, he may not even know that the race has been shortened. But they are coming down now at the end of the 30th lap with 10 laps to go. And it's going to be an absolutely brilliant performance by these two drivers for these 10 laps, because Rosberg will be just as determined to keep Fittipaldi back as Fittipaldi will be determined to get ahead of him and win his first Formula One race for a long, long time. So, coming up to the end of lap 30, Rosberg coming into the end of lap 30. Behind him in second place, Fittipaldi. In third place, Tony Trimmer. But come back at 6:35 for a closing report on this race. Now, are we keeping recording or not? Lap 31, and now Fittipaldi is starting to make his challenge. They come out of Stowe and down to Club Corner for the 31st time, with 9 laps still to go for Emerson Fittipaldi to reel in those last few feet between him and the Theodore car in front of him. Laps completed, and Fittipaldi now is in a position where he's got to drive slightly to the right or slightly to the left of Rosberg's car in order to keep out of the spray that the giant rear wheels are throwing up from the Theodore. And from Copse it's into Maggots, And Fittipaldi has closed the gap from 10 seconds to what you can see now. That's what, I guess about 10 car lengths, if that. But catching Rosberg will be one thing, getting past him will be quite another. Rosberg is a very determined driver. He can drive what is known in the racing business as a very wide car if he puts his mind to it, because you only need to change the racing line an inch or two to keep somebody back. Peter, tell us something about that sort of situation.
Well, it's basically you, with a few laps to go, as this case happens to be, if you can keep the guy behind you without doing anything dangerous, but by using your head and using a lot of the road, it's something which can help you win a race or come second. And I think he's driving beautifully at the moment. He's doing everything that he should do. And I think that Fittipaldi, who made a bid earlier on, I think is having trouble holding on to him again now.
Well, there's someone who knows, and it's going to be more than interesting to see how these last 8 laps, and that includes the one they're on now, so it's the last 7 laps now, because Rosberg, with the car almost sideways as he exits the chicane, has certainly, on lap 33, got the giant yellow Copper car looming very, very large in his mirrors. He will know that that car is driven by Fittipaldi. He knows that Fittipaldi is a double world champion. He knows too that if he can keep going the way he is going for just 7 more laps, he's not only going to win his first Formula One race, but he is going to make a fantastic reputation for himself and put himself well ahead of the queue of the many others who are there hoping to get a works drive in the future. Rosberg, a man who has been tipped as a future world champion, is certainly showing that he's got the class today. Into lap 34, 6 to go, and the gap between Rosberg and Fittipaldi is, as it looks to me, as though it's increased a bit, and Fittipaldi looked as though he was slowing a little. Indeed, it's gone up to 3 3/5 seconds. Now, Fittipaldi is slowing. Any views on that, Peter Gifford?
I think he's decided that he'd sooner be second than finish off the road. I think Keke Rosberg was timing it for 30 laps and has been extended to 40, and now he's going quicker, and I don't think there's anything Fittipaldi can do about it. Maybe the nose is not helping him at all, but in my opinion, Keke Rosberg is driving quicker, or is got more determination today in these conditions than Emerson, and I think Emerson would be quite happy to finish second.
And you will see, if you next time you look at the Theodore car, which is in the lead, number 14, you will see, when you get a side view of it, that Rosberg has got the rear red warning light on, as indeed, of course, he should do in these weather conditions. And that must be tantalising for Emerson Fittipaldi. There's the red light you can see at the back of the car, underneath the aerofoil, which is helping hold the car down. And that must be maddening for Fittipaldi, because he will see it getting closer and closer through that giant ball of spray which he is pursuing. But, as I said earlier on, the moment that Fittipaldi goes off the dry line, or the comparatively dry line, and you can see it there at Abbey, to try to get past Rosberg, he's going to potentially be in all sorts of trouble. He'll get wheel spin, he'll get the car out of shape, he will lose time at best, and it might even go off the circuit at worst. So it could well be that Emerson Fittipaldi has decided that he's going to settle for second place, or hope that Rosberg will make a mistake. And Peter Gethin's absolutely right, because the gap is increasing. It has gone up from 3 2/5 seconds to 4 2/5 seconds. At the completion of the 34th lap, they are on lap 35. They have 5 laps to go. And behind them still, there is number 6 laps still to go. There is Tony Trimmer is still in 3rd place in the McLaren M23, and that's a very good drive too. In 4th place, it is Rupert Keegan still in the Surtees. In 5th position, it's Brett Lunger, and Brett Lunger is last, but that's something to be proud about rather than ashamed about. Well, not quite last, because Hans Stuck rejoined the race. He has completed 18 laps, whereas number 30, Brett Lunger, has completed 31 laps. So there is the battle for the lead. I wonder if Fittipaldi is going to make a last-minute challenge. What might you be doing, Peter Gethin?
I think one of the problems that Fittipaldi might have encountered when he caught Rosberg was that his visor was got some of the spray which you can see coming out of Rosberg's car, and if it went into his visor, he would have been not blinded, but he would have had great difficulty in seeing. So he may have dropped back. He might have cleared it somehow. He might have been able to do something with his visor and have another go at challenging him towards the end. But I really think he's going to have an awful problem to actually pass Rosberg. I think even if he catches him, to pass him, he'll be very, very lucky.
Well, we may both be wrong, because the gap has come down. Fittipaldi has taken no less than 2 seconds out of Rosberg's lead, and it is back again to 3 seconds. That is with 32 laps completed. 35 laps completed for the leaders. There is Fittipaldi. So there's just 4 laps to go now, including the one that they're on, and there is the Brazilian. And it's incredible the way Emerson Fittipaldi, who comes from such a sunny, dry country as Brazil, has mastered these appalling conditions in Europe that he's come across from time to time. And it looks as though Fittipaldi has got not his second wind, but his third wind. He is challenging again as they come down to Stowe. It was 3 seconds, the gap at the end of the 35th lap. It's going to be closer than that at the end of the 36th lap. So, just as there was excitement and drama after 30 laps, my goodness, there's going to be exactly the same after 40. Hats off to Rosberg, incidentally, for his stamina. From Stowe up to Abbey, Rosberg leads Fittipaldi. This is the completion of lap 36 into the 37th lap with 3 laps to go. At the end of this lap, 36, 4 to go, and there's Rosberg into the chicane. Fittipaldi now into the chicane with him for the first time, and the gap is 1 4/5 seconds. Fittipaldi is back to the position of challenge that he was in before. It's more than conceivable that we are going to see a change of leadership in the closing stages of the race, and somebody's engine is misfiring badly. And if it's Fittipaldi's, it's an incredible testimony to his skill. If it's Rosberg's, he's in real trouble. They're on lap 37 now. And that sounds clean and clear, and that's the Copper-Sukar engine, or rather the Cosworth engine of the Copper-Sukar that we're listening to. So if either of those engines is misfiring, as opposed to being over-revved and stopped by the rev limiter, because these engines do have a device which stops the driver from over-revving them and therefore bursting them, it's Rosberg's. Well, and I think it must be Rosberg's, because Fittipaldi has really got the message. Rosberg can see Fittipaldi behind him, and Fittipaldi's closing right up, and this is going to be, as they come up towards the bridge, the end of the 37th lap. Now they're up to Abbey, the danger point where so many cars have spun off in this race. But these two drivers, and you can see there's Hunt's McLaren on the right, but there's the dry line. You can see it marked with the wheel tracks of the cars as they go under the bridge, down to Woodcote, end of lap 37, start of lap 38, and that means 3 to go at the end of this lap. That's it, and the gap is 1 2/5 seconds. And it's agonizing for whoever it is has got that misfiring engine, and it really is very, very difficult to tell. Indeed, it's impossible to tell, so close are they. Because either Rosberg will be cursing his luck for not being able to pull away, or Fittipaldi will be cursing his luck for not having those last few horsepower that he desperately needs and has certainly got the ability to use to catch up with and try to get past Keke Rosberg. Still Tony Trimmer in third place, but Rupert Keegan is out of the race now in the Surtees. That was cruel luck on lap 31. And that means to say that up to 4th place, last except for Hans Stuck, comes Brett Langer. And now you see how very hard Rosberg is trying and how very hard Emerson Fittipaldi is trying. Rosberg from Finland, Emerson Fittipaldi from Brazil, and Fittipaldi with well over 100 Grand Prix behind him. That's how much experience he's got. Into the penultimate lap at the end of this one, when they come under the bridge and into the chicane. And the photo flashes are going all round the circuit, as well they might, and Rosberg pulls away a bit. 2 seconds is the lead. Lap 39. We are now into the last 2 laps of this memorably exciting British Racing Drivers Club International Trophy event at Silverstone to celebrate 30 years of racing here. And I think it's almost certainly Fittipaldi with the misfire, because he's dropping back, and that just doesn't make sense. Because well as Rosberg is driving, it's the Copper car that's in comparative trouble, just enough trouble to make all the difference. And with the spray flying from his wheels, it looks as though Fittipaldi has got little chance now of catching Rosberg, in which case it is going to be a famous victory for the Finn. Into Stowe for the last time but one, and out of it. And it was here that Fittipaldi started to close up on Rosberg on the previous lap. The Copper car in the hands of Emerson Fittipaldi seems to be just a bit quicker on that section of the course from Stowe down to Club. But then from Club up to Abbey, and from Abbey to Woodcote, under the bridge and into the chicane for the last time but one, Rosberg again pulls away, just that bit that matters. And if this is going to be the pattern in the last lap, Rosberg must win. Almost 39 laps completed. Rosberg leads at the end of the last lap but one, and he's leading by an increasing margin. It was 4 seconds there, and he goes into Copse Corner. This number 32 is 29-year-old Keke Rosberg, and there is 32-year-old Emerson Fittipaldi in the Copper car. But with attrition all the way through the race, with Lauda out, Depailler out, Andretti and Peterson, Hunt, Stuck and Daly out, with several different leaders, Keke Rosberg has led this race since lap 14 in what was, we thought, going to be a 30-lap race, and turns out to be a 40-lap race. So he is going to have led for 26 laps in winning his first Formula One race, as surely he must, because even though there has been some very cruel luck in the history of motor racing, it would be the cruelest of all if Keke Rosberg was denied his well-deserved victory on this, the last lap of the International Trophy, and he's just coming up to try and take either Brett Langer or Tony Trimmer, with Emerson Fittipaldi behind him. It's Tony Trimmer that he's about to lap, and that could cause trouble, because that's happened in the past, but it hasn't. Rosberg is back. The blue flags are waving to say to Tony Trimmer, there's someone behind you, let him past, and he has. And Keke Rosberg enters the chicane for the last time. The checkered flag is ready. The checkered flag is waved, and Keke Rosberg has won in the Theodore by about 1 second only from Emerson Fittipaldi, and with Tony Trimmer lapped at least twice behind them. A marvellous race and a brilliant victory.